Ghana. The price of liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, is also going up by some 10% today. That's according to the LPG Marketers Association. Joining us via Zoom now is one of the leading members of the group, the Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association, who is joining us via Zoom now. Thank you, Gabriel Kumi, for joining us. So here we know that, of course, you're doing that just days or months after we received another shipment of government's gold for oil deal. We're hoping that once, of course, the crude prices are dropping, you'll be doing your part by also complementing us when it comes to the LPG products. Why is that not having an impact on the market?
Good afternoon, my brother. Yes, indeed, LPG price is going. The figures we are picking from the BDCs this morning indicate that the cost price, that's the cost to the oil marketing companies, has gone up by about 10%. If we are lucky, competition can drive that down to about 6-7%. But this cost is not. This increment is not being done by the LPG marketing companies. It's purely an increase in cost of the product. And when that happens, you have no option than to pass that on to the consumer.
10%. Basically, what's the implication?
What that simply means is that for the past window, we've been buying a kilo of LPG at about 15 Ghana cedis. If this 10% is made to stand, we are likely to buy a kilo of LPG at 16 cedis. What that translates simply is that your 14.5 average household cylinder that used to be sold at around 220 cedis is now shooting up to about 240, 250 cedis. And we believe that is just too much for the ordinary consumer to buy. As an association, we have consistently been calling on government to take measures to ensure that the price of LPG comes down. For the past few months, 2 months or so, diesel and petrol has seen a downward trend in terms of prices, but unfortunately, LPG is doing the opposite. And the projection by the experts suggests that going forward, LPG price will continue to escalate. That is why at this point we are calling on government to take very drastic measures to ensure that the price of LPG comes down. You know, already the consumption of LPG in Ghana has taken a nosedive. It's declining. The figures suggest that in 2022, LPG consumption in Ghana went down by over 12%. And that should be a source of worry to every single Ghanaian and to government in particular. Because, you know, government set an objective to increase consumption of LPG from 25% to 50% by the year 2030. But we believe, as at the time government was setting that objective, LPG penetration was about 25%. But we believe we are even going backwards. So there's no way government can achieve its objective if we continue to allow LPG price to go as it's doing. The downward trend consumption has taken is purely and singularly as a result of the fact that price of the product has gone beyond the reach of the ordinary Ghanaian.
And as part of the solution, you're asking for the removal of some taxes. What stop on the agenda for you? What stop on that list?
We have been calling on removal of the taxes from LPG for the past 5 years. We believe LPG must be made tax-free because if you look at even the West Africa sub-region, countries like Cote d'Ivoire are indeed subsidizing LPG to the tune of about 25%. But in Ghana, we put about 13% taxes on the product. And we believe that should be a good step. That should be the first step government should take to ensure that the price of the product comes down. The second thing we are also looking at carefully is the gold for oil law, oil for gold deal that we are currently involved in. That deal is currently considering diesel and petrol, and I think that has contributed a long way to making the price of diesel and petrol comes down in recent times.
Explain that to us, because many will not understand the technicality behind that.
Okay, so I'm also not a technical person. I'm also a business person. But government is trying to use gold to procure some oil from some Arab countries, and I think that has been a talk of town for the past 2 months. I think the second consignment is already in, and that is supposed to bring down prices of petroleum product down. But unfortunately, LPG was not included in that deal. And we believe if that LPG had been included, we wouldn't have seen the escalation of the price of LPG that we are witnessing now.
You have the opportunity, if you're to make an appeal. We understand the Vice President is keen on this. He calls it an innovative plan. If you had the opportunity to meet the Vice President, what will be the appeal from the Marketers Association on the gold for oil deal? You now want it to be the gold for oil LPG deal, correct? What would that?
Yeah,
what would that appeal
LPG
be?
is also an oil product. So the goal for oil is not only for diesel and petrol. LPG is also a byproduct of crude. So we are just asking the government, and in particular the Vice President, to include LPG in that arrangement so that we can get cheaper LPG in Ghana to buy. You see, it's not for any reason that His Excellency and his cabinet set a target for consumption of LPG. It's for a very, very, very good reason. But you can't eat your cake and have it. You can't set such a laudable objective for consumption of LPG, and at the same time, you sit and watch price of the product goes up uncontrollably. LPG is a product with an elastic demand. The only way you can increase consumption, the only way you can engender growth is to take measures to bring the prices down so you can attract a lot more people into the consumption net. So government's own objective of increasing access and penetration could be achieved. But if we allow prices, look, the figures we are picking from this year is that even this year we are going to get worse in terms of consumption. The January, and we are still compiling figures for February, but they don't look good at all. And once LPG consumption in Ghana is going down, the implications are so many and so dire. What it means is that the very little forest cover that we have is being further depleted. What it also means is that the rivers that we have destroyed with Galamsey is also going to dry up because we are going to cut all these trees around the rivers for firewood and for charcoal. What it means is that we are going to have environmental issues, respiratory issues because of the use of unhealthy source of heat like firewood and charcoal. So it's for a very, very good reason. But government must take the necessary steps to ensure that its own objective that it has set for the LPG sector it comes to fruition.
Okay, largely the arguments you're making are mostly tilted towards adaptation commitments in terms of climate change. But back to the issue of the gold for oil that you're raising, for instance, you have the BDCs describing this as counterproductive, stifling, of course, the market, which is supposed to be deregulated, and also creating some challenges in terms of the forex. How do you feel that, you'd be able to realize the realistic profits that you always get if government makes you as an add-on onto this new gold for oil deal project?
In terms of the challenges that the BCCs are facing, government still has gone ahead to implement this. And let's face it, indeed, it has gone a long way to stabilize prices, at least in the short term. So we are just asking that in the short term, let LPG be also included so that we can also witness that decrease in price of LPG. So we can all together plan for the long term on what really to do to ensure that the price of LPG is kept down.
Okay, I would have to leave it here for now, but I'm hoping that, of course, the authorities will do something about it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Kumi is Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association. Well,